Get ready. It's time for the Idaho Podcast with your host, Danny Ventura. Welcome to the Idaho Podcast, where we feature the people who live, work, and play in Idaho. We're so happy to have you with us today. Today, we're going to be discussing multiple things, but one item that will come up today is the topic of suicide. And I just wanted to let our listeners know ahead of time that it is a sensitive topic, and we may be talking about it a little bit, so please be aware. And if anybody you know or you yourself are suffering from depression or have a crisis in your life or are having thoughts of suicide, in Idaho, you can always dial 988 for that hotline and that assistance. And believe me, there is help for you, and life is worth living. So if you have any of those thoughts or know anybody who might, please dial 988 and seek that help. Today, my guest is Brandi Wolf, and Brandi is a certified meditation teacher and an author. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
What is your Idaho story? I know you moved here in the 90s.
I did.
And what brought you here? What's keeping you here?
Well, I followed a boy.
Okay.
That's what I did. So I'm from northern Utah, and in the mid-90s, I followed a boy to Idaho, and I knew I wanted to leave Utah. And Arizona was a choice, or Idaho was a choice at that time, actually. And that just ended up being the choice that worked out.
Very nice.
Got to stay with his mom out in Marsing, lived in Marsing for 6 weeks.
Okay.
Before moving into Boise.
Yeah. And what has kept you here?
That relationship ended up not working out, but I met somebody and had children, had a little girl, and I had 2 stepkids. And that really is what kept me here, is that, my kiddo was born here. Yeah.
And it's a great place to be, for sure.
Yeah.
So you are the owner and publisher, among other things, but you are the owner and publisher of Greet Eagle magazine, and it's a local Idaho publication. It's unique because the platform shares stories about people, places, and things of Eagle, Idaho, which is pretty cool.
Yes.
So that's close and near and dear to my heart. It's a publication by residents for residents, and I love that you have that in there. But please tell us more about Greet Eagle and how people can access this.
Yeah. Greet Eagle is a really fun publication because it's user-generated content. And we all know what user-generated content has done to our world. And it's mailed to just about 9,000 single-family homes every single month in Eagle. And somebody wants to receive it, and just have to email me and tell me that they want to get on the list, and I will make sure that they start getting it on a monthly basis.
That's terrific.
So, and I have a landing page. If you Google Greet Eagle, you can find me there, or on Instagram. Those are probably the 2 easiest ways to find me online.
And is the publication also available in any stores or locally?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes. So since most of them are mailed out, that's where the bulk of them go. But we do drop them off at the Eagle Chamber, Office Evolution, and Bowl of Heaven. So if you're lucky and you get there fast enough, you can get one, but they usually disappear pretty quickly.
All right.
Yeah.
And it's a monthly publication.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
And so tell us kind of some of the content and the reasoning behind publishing the magazine, because I think you told me you just celebrated your 5th year.
We did. We celebrated our 5th year in March. Thank you. And the content behind it is to feature people that actually make our community great. We can turn on the news, and we can turn on entertainment. We can see all sorts of movie stars or entertainment news, whatever we want to call it. But you don't get to see the people that make up the fabric of the community. And so that's the whole basis of this, is to build community. It helps others to bridge differences when they know more about somebody.
Sure.
It's like, okay, this person's in my community. I relate to them, to where maybe they did not before. Maybe there was some little thing that kept them from getting to know them. But now that they can read their story, that changes. And so something like this can help people build community, break down barriers, get to know other people, and just celebrate who we are, really.
That's great. Yeah. Very similar to why I do this podcast.
Yeah.
It's just you have a print publication to do it, and I'm doing it through a podcast medium. So
absolutely,
trying to share the people's stories of Idaho. So
yes.
I love that. That's
Yes.
really, really great. And I picked up a copy recently, and that's what kind of intrigued me for it. So I don't, personally, we don't get it mailed to our home, but I'm going to have to email you and make sure we get it mailed to the home.
right.
So I do enjoy it. So you are a certified meditation teacher.
Yes.
And meditation helped you heal after a handful of crises, really, that consisted your father's suicide, a heartbreaking divorce, the economy failing, and ultimately you losing a business where you had to file for bankruptcy. Unfortunately, you had a miscarriage on top of that, and then another friend of yours also committed suicide. Really heartbreaking things, and I'm so sorry. You write in your book, from 2002 to 2010, it felt like a continuous string of pain and trauma that was hard to overcome. Sleeping was inconsistent. My stress was high, and I often felt like an empty crossroad in the middle of nowhere stood smack square in the center of my life. My days felt empty and isolated in spite of having people around that loved and supported me. That's pretty profound. How did you first learn about meditation, and when did you realize the impact, the positive impact it was having on your life?
That's a great question. So I was not a stranger to meditation. I had actually started it when I was quite young. I was a teenager. I didn't really know I was meditating because I was just trying to fall asleep. I actually had a really hard time sleeping for a large part of my life. And it would help me. I'd started with body scans, just wrapping white light around me, starting at my toes and going all the way up, which is a form of meditation. It's just a body scan. And it would help me stay present enough that the chatter would stop and I could quiet my brain enough to actually fall asleep. And so that's how it started. But I didn't keep it. I kind of became more of a crisis meditator where you hear crisis prayer, crisis meditator, where you only meditate when things hit the fan. And that's kind of what I had more gone to. But when all of those things happened, just like I said, I was just at this crossroads. I didn't even know what to do with myself. I was in so much pain. I had to find a way to work through it and heal it and release it. I had a lot of defensiveness. I was super hurt, angry. I was very angry at my father. And to be fair, very angry at my ex-husband and just the whole situation and the economy and the business and everything else. It's unsettling when you go through things like that. And so I had to find a way to heal. And so I started revisiting meditation so I could find the things, accept them, forgive them, but I had to accept myself and I had to forgive myself too, because that's at the root of everything, our self-love, our self-acceptance, and our self-compassion, because that's how we truly change the world outside of us, is by changing ourselves. And so I took a really deep dive just into my heart, and I started writing letters, burning them in the backyard in a coffee can so I could release them. Often I would be meditating and just streams of water coming down my face as I just cried through everything, let the emotions out, and that's something that meditation gave me. It was a really big gift for me to allow me to process all of those emotions. I also started doing walking meditations. So I wasn't just doing peace meditations or mindfulness meditations to keep myself more present and to peel back those layers. I started doing walking meditations too, where I would just go by myself out in nature and just go walk and hike. No technology, no sound, just be with myself and be comfortable with myself and be able to access that peacefulness that happens when you do that. And something started happening. Just something started happening. Peace started filling my day more. Love started filling my day more. I found myself thinking of situations fondly instead of painfully. I started looking at people differently, accepting them as well. Defensiveness went down, anger went down. Compassion just started becoming more at my forefront. And that's about the time I found my teacher too. So he then, like just following my meditation teacher, just helped me to solidify that practice so it was very consistent. Because just like anything else, you can't eat healthy once and have a healthy body. You can't exercise once.
I wish it was like that.
Right?
Right.
I'd be very healthy. But it's just like anything else. It's consistency. And he really helped me to fully solidify my practice. And in solidifying my practice, my life changed. Everything changed. Better people, better circumstances, a better outlook. All of these things started shifting in my life. I became more successful in my professional life, successful in my personal life. People that were around me and new people started coming in that were so supportive and so loving and non-judgmental, and that's really what I needed. I needed that. I needed to have that kind of a community around me, but I had to change who I was in order to get that to happen for myself.
That's pretty remarkable. You stated that you found yourself to be more accepting, forgiving of people. You more positive things were happening in your life. Things were becoming more successful. It seems like. What do you believe? What caused that? Do you think was it the shift of your mindset through that the meditation affected, or I don't know. I'm wondering. Yeah. I'm curious.
Well, hurt people hurt people. So when we are hurt inside, even when we think we're being nice, we're not. Like when we don't heal that pain and we don't take care of our trauma, it comes out. And that kind of pain chases others away. They don't want to deal with it. And, humans kind of like to turn an eye away from it. They may not know what it is. They may not know, I can't quite put my finger on it, but I don't know that I want to be there. And I feel like I've always been a pretty compassionate person. I've always been a really loving person. And I feel like I've had that. But, if I take a really close look at myself in the mirror, I've also been a very defensive person. I've been snarky. Look in my past, and I've had a very sharp tongue. I had all of those things. Now, because I developed that compassion and I healed that hurt, I don't attract that anymore. I mean, it kind of comes down to the law of attraction. And now if somebody is snarky to me or they're defensive with me, I recognize their pain and I don't need to do it back. I don't need to be snarky back to them. I recognize there's hurt there and my compassion is more there than anything else. My compassion for them. Now, I'm not going to let somebody walk all over me and be mean to me and bully me, but I will just kindly say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to tolerate this, instead of matching them in their wit. I think that that's where a lot of us mistake our lives. It's like, why do we feel that is necessary? Why do we feel like we need to match somebody in their wit, especially with a sharp tongue? Mm-hmm. And that's usually, it stems from pain. It comes from pain.
I'm intrigued because you use the word healed as in past tense. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes I feel like a lot of people believe that healing is almost a lifelong process, the process of healing. But to hear someone say healed, as in you've dealt with that and put it up on the shelf, and maybe it's not even on the shelf, maybe you threw it out with the trash, that's intriguing to me. So you believe that a lot of these things you truly have been past tense healed and you've been able to move on completely.
I would say most of them, yes.
Okay.
There is one that I would say I'm 97% healed, but on the right day, it can still bring tears to my eyes. So there's something still there. Mm-hmm. And, the great thing about meditation is sometimes that stuff bubbles up and you're like, oh, I thought I was done with that. But then it says, nope, you're not quite done with that. Mm-hmm. You need to still work on it some more. I believe there's a lot of things that I am healed about. I am healed over my divorce. I forgive him. I love him as my child's father. I love him for the role he played in my life. It doesn't mean I want to be married to him, but I have found that place where I can still love him, and I think that that's really important, to look at those situations in our life with compassion and love, because we were together for a reason.
and something positive to come out of it.
Oh,
right? So
yeah, very beautiful.
right, right. So obviously, you're certified in meditation. You know a lot about it. You've written a book. In fact, you're about to release a second book. We're going to talk about both of those in a few minutes. What are some of the techniques? Because I know there are various forms of meditation. Would you mind sharing some of the techniques, the different types of meditation that people can do? And I'm sure it's all in your book, but just kind of high level. I would really love you to share that.
Yeah, the meditation that I started with doing like the body scans, which is a lovely technique, especially if you're a beginner, because they tend to be easier. And everybody always says, "Oh, but my mind, the chatter, it just won't stop," or "I get fidgety," or "I get aggravated." Those are the common things that you hear. But at the end of the day, everybody's minds chatter. So one of the things to recognize when you are meditating is that we're not trying to stop our brain. We are trying to lengthen the time in between the chatter until eventually it's not necessarily an issue. And so that's probably the first technique to just understand that you can't stop your mind and go, okay, I'm going to stop my mind and I'm going to meditate. That just doesn't really happen. One of my favorite ways to meditate is to use a mala bead, such as this, and use it to count my mantra. So there's 108 beads on here, and you just drag it through your fingers until you go around to the other side, repeating your mantra silently over and over again, which for me is very peaceful, and it gives your brain a tool to kind of focus on. So then the chatter falls away a little bit easier. But if it doesn't, you have these reminders to just gently come back to your present moment instead of being distracted by the rumination of yesterday or worrying about tomorrow. And then, breathing, really just breathing, creating a space for yourself where you're going to be undisturbed and letting your people in your house, it's not strangers that disturb you, it's the people in your house.
Right.
So making sure you just have that space where you can be alone for a few minutes, connecting with your heart, connecting with yourself, to your divine being, and having that moment to be there. So there's lots of other techniques. Meditation's very vast and it's very deep, but there is a technique, I fully believe, for everyone that's going to resonate with them.
You spoke of mantra, which is part of your second book. And again, we'll talk about that in a minute. But can I be so bold to ask you, what is your mantra that you go through? Or
I change them.
Okay.
Right now, I'm using one called So Hum. And So Hum means I am that. So it's a mantra of oneness. And I heard an author, last name is Walsh, and Neil Walsh, that's who it is. I heard him talking one time, and when I found this mantra, he was the first person that I thought of because he has some books called Conversations with God. And he said he was driving down the street one day, and he started looking at everybody differently and started going, oh, well, I am that. I am that woman right there walking down the street. I am that. Oh, there's a homeless person right there. I am that. There's a person getting in their BMW. I am that. There's a little child playing. I am that. He started recognizing that everything around him was creation, every single thing that he saw. And so when I first ran into that mantra, So Hum, that's the first thing I thought of. And I went, oh my gosh, what a beautiful thing to practice. I am that. It helps close that divide between everything that we see as separate and recognize that we are all a piece of that divine.
I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Never really heard it explained like that, so I'm glad I asked. So in May, you published your first book entitled Meditation for the Modern Mind, A Beginner's Guide to Stress Relief and Emotional Well-Being. And I'll have the book picture up on the screen for folks. Yeah. And it was an Amazon bestseller in the very first month, so congratulations for that.
Thank you.
What inspired the writing of that book? And I'm sure you've heard from readers. How has it transformed some of those readers' lives?
Well, what inspired me is that I want to help, and I feel like when people talk to me and they tell me how it has helped them, one of the things that I hear them say is, you make it sound so easy in a way that I can understand. And I've heard that. I think I just have that gift, I guess, in my life to be able to explain things. I'm not sure, but that's what I hear a lot. And so I wanted to be able to explain something that seems very complicated to somebody who is unaware of it or gets little snippets. Movies and social media make things look much different than what they are. People think they have to sit on a hard surface with their back straight and all of these things. Oh, I can't do that. I've got back pain. Or that's never going to be possible for me. I mean, they have this image because of Hollywood and social media. And I wanted to kind of break that down a little bit more to let them understand that there's so much easier than that. There's so many different ways to do it. And there's no wrong way to start a practice. There's only ways to go deeper in it. There's just no wrong way to actually begin. And so I really wanted to be able to share that with others and have a path for them. Because when I do teach meditation, it's a common question I get. Well, where do I find out more? I've had people ask me, do you have a book? Is there something I can read? So there was a lot of things that inspired it. It just kept pushing and pushing and pushing me till finally it's like, okay, I'm going to do this. The reviews and some people that have talked to me, besides the easy to read, they just said, I finally feel like I can start a practice now. I can start going down the path.
That's great.
It's okay to start messy too.
Yep. Kind of like exercise.
Right?
It starts out, it's kind of messy.
It's okay. It's okay.
That's great. And so the idea of meditation, and I know you're certified and you teach it, but so do you have classes you offer? Or in other words, how would folks connect with you? Is that something you offer?
I do. Okay. I do. So people invite me to come and teach. I've gone to people's homes. I've gone to their organizations, places of business, just different things like that where they want me to come in and just teach a group. Sometimes it's an hour and a half. Sometimes it's an hour. I also teach at a local addiction facility, Eagle Creek Ranch Recovery. And I teach there every Monday for gentlemen that are recovering from drug and alcohol use. And so there's a lot of ways. I have done online classes. So if somebody wanted to connect further, they could visit my website to reach out to me. They'll just learn more. Look at my website. Maybe I'm not the person, but maybe it's a start for them to start looking at meditation. But yeah, I'm pretty flexible in that, in how people want me to come and teach them.
What is the website?
It's goldenalchemymeditation.com.
goldenalchemymeditation.com. And
yes.
I'll put that up on the screen as well.
Okay.
So they can reach out to you there and
yes.
contact you. Okay,
yes.
Terrific. And then recently, well, I guess now you're working on your second book. It's about to be published in the fall, I believe, of this year.
Yeah.
And the second book is The Art of Positive Affirmations and Mantras, which we just spoke about.
Yes.
So tell us more about that new book and what the background on that.
So mantras and affirmations have played a significant role in my life. And one of them, which is kind of sounds silly, but sometimes when we're in tough spots, it's just the little things that we look for. And after the economy fell and I was just so broke, I didn't have any money. I could afford peanut butter, eggs, and ramen noodles. My poor daughter still will not eat peanut butter to this day. And I just didn't have very much money. And so going to the grocery store was very painful. It was a very painful experience. And so when I would go into the grocery store, I would practice affirmations that I love coming into the grocery store and purchasing whatever I want. I love that my grocery budget is expansive. And I just started doing that. And it didn't take that long that all of a sudden one day out of the blue, I got a job offer and my grocery budget doubled. I mean, it was just such a powerful experience for me to go in there and practice. I'm going to be excited when I walk into the grocery store and I'm going to pretend I have money to buy the groceries that I want. I wanted to buy the, $6 pint of strawberries. I just couldn't. I couldn't buy it. And so the affirmations have really helped me in my life. And then when I started doing mantras, again, significantly changed my life. It has helped me in so many ways. It's just innumerable. And that is often a question I get asked. In fact, the last meditation class I taught a few weeks ago at somebody's home, they had a group of people come over and we did a meditation class. 2 people asked me, where do I find a list of mantras? Because they're not, it's just
Sure.
people don't know what they're looking for. Like, how do I find this? I don't even know where to look. And so that was part of the inspiration of the book, is the science behind it. Why do they work? Why do affirmations work? Why do mantras work? And then having a list and a resource of, here they are. Of course, affirmations, there could be millions of affirmations, but mantras, not so much. There's a lot of mantras, but there's some that are just more prominent than others. And so those are the ones that we focus on.
And so I think of even today, right? There's people in this economy who are struggling like that today. Like, in fact, they can't afford eggs because eggs are so ridiculously expensive right now. And there's people that I'm sure that go to the market and it gives them lots of anxiety because the prices are beyond what they can afford. I mean, the prices are ridiculous. They're saying sometimes 20 to 30% higher than it was just a few years ago. Do you feel that telling yourself that kind of mantra, that I can afford anything in here and I love shopping, is that just toying with your emotions? Or do you feel that it's because I look at it that way and I think, why would I toy with my emotions that way? But obviously it worked more of a positive thinking for you. So I'm curious to your insight on that.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I actually used to think that before I really started practicing them. I'm like, well, I can't say that. It's not true. It's not even true. Why would I even be saying that? And there's actually a chemical reaction that happens within our bodies when we start changing things and we create different neural pathways. And when we create that belief system, our belief system is so strong that it's like the law of attraction. It now creates our world. If we believe that the world is an ugly, awful place, that is how our life is going to be. It may be true, it may not. It doesn't really matter. But if we walk out and we think this world is a beautiful and abundant place, well, that can be true too. It may not, it may be. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what is. It matters what we believe, because that's how everything changes. And so that's how I changed my life. I mean, when we change how we are on the inside, the outside has no other alternative than to change to match who we are on the inside.
Sure.
So...
No, that makes sense. Positive thinking absolutely is manifests itself in how we're perceived and how we approach things and people. I would agree with you, because we can all wake up in the morning. We have a choice to say this is going to be a crappy day or this is going to be a great day. And to your point, if you believe it's going to be a crappy day, it's probably going to be a crappy day. But conversely, if we think it's going to be a great day, maybe not everything's going to be perfect with rainbows and butterflies and confetti, but it's going to be a good day. And because your mind is saying, no matter what comes my way, I'm going to make this a good day.
Exactly.
So,
there's just not much we have control of in our life, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So we can control our emotions and we can control how we react. And that's it.
Pretty much.
If we go out there and we engage with the world and we behave poorly, well, that's what we're going to get back. You hear so many stories of people practicing affirmations of not knowing how something is happening. I was listening to a woman that she wanted to go to this healing retreat, and I didn't know her. I was listening to it on a podcast, and she wanted to go to this healing retreat. She had no idea how it was going to happen because she really didn't have the money to go. She had no idea how it was going to happen, but she just had this feeling that it was going to. She's like, I'm going to be there. I don't really know how. And she was on a walk in the park and she saw something sparkle out of the corner of her eye. And she just went over there to check it out in the dirt, and she started digging around. She found a 2-carat loose diamond in the dirt.
Wow.
That had been covered, not in a setting or anything. That's how she ended up going. I mean, you just never know. Yeah. You don't know. And she was unwavering in her belief. She believed it was going to happen. She didn't know how, but that's not really any of her business how it's going to happen. Right. It just mattered that she had a feeling and knew that it was going to happen. So she's like, okay, well, if it's going to happen, you're just going to have to provide it, because I don't know how else I'm going to do it. So
a different way to define the term "a diamond in the rough." Right?
exactly, exactly. I'm like, I want to find a diamond.
Obviously, you have a deep passion for meditation, and obviously, it's transformed your own life, and I think that's terrific. And you're clearly dedicated to helping others on their journey towards health and peace and mindfulness. What continues to drive that passion and that dedication to helping others?
I love it, I guess. I mean, I love seeing the shift. I love seeing the change. And sometimes, especially like when I'm at the treatment center, sometimes I'll get some people, they didn't ask to be taught meditation, and some really push back. I don't get a lot of them, but some of them really push back. But even with that, I'm like, that's okay. I still love doing it. I love being able to have the opportunity to show contrast. That's okay. I'm just showing you this. And if you don't like it, that's okay. There's lots of tools out there. This is not the only one, but then when somebody does open up to it, I mean, one of the gentlemen got so excited about practicing mala meditation. He had one of his family members order him a mala bead and send it there so he could start practicing right away. Like, that just is pure joy. Like, something happened for him. Something just flipped, a little light switch flipped. And he got so excited that that's what he wanted to do. So just being able to see that shift in somebody is really what helps me to keep going. It's not hard. I do love meditation. It's not hard for me to serve others with it because I do really love it. And I know how much it benefited me. And I know it can benefit somebody else if they so choose it to benefit them.
There are some meditation apps, and I don't know whether you believe in them or not. I'm sure some might be good. And
I love them.
Say, okay, there's one through, and I'm not promoting it because I don't get sponsored or anything by it. But there's one through the Peloton system.
Yeah.
I have friends, including my wife. They use it and they love it. I've yet to try it. I don't know why. I've been reticent to do it, but I know that I've heard from friends who've said it absolutely changes my approach to my day. And I really need to just take the time to do it and try it. But because that's just like you said, just start.
Just the hardest part of it.
Right.
Just start.
So we always end the show with the tip of the day. And the tip is the acronym for the Idaho podcast. So Brandi, what is your tip for our listeners?
To practice self-acceptance and acceptance of others, no matter what. Because if we accept ourselves and we accept others, there's really nothing else. You can accept you're going to vote for that person, and I'm going to accept that I don't agree, and I'm going to vote for this person, but I still love you.
Yeah, that's a good example because there's a lot of tension, especially right now. We're in a campaign year, and it causes a lot of division and tension among friends and family, and that's actually a good example. But even in just life, right? Yeah. I do like that. There's a lot of depth to that as far as if we accept others, and to your point, we don't have to agree.
Right.
But we can accept them just for who they are. I mean, I'm Christian, so I believe in God and in Jesus. So, I believe that if Jesus provides his grace to me, I'm just a wretched sinner, and he can accept me for who I am, I have to provide that same grace that I want to live under and accept someone else. Again, doesn't mean I have to be best friends or go to dinner with them, but I do have to accept them. And honestly, it'll make me a better person.
Oh, yeah.
And certainly my life will be more peaceful because I won't be holding on to that, whatever that is that's bothering me. Yeah.
It helps to grow compassion.
Yeah.
And compassion is everything.
Yeah.
Compassion's even greater than love, because when we can have compassion for ourselves and for others, it changes the world.
Well, Brandi, thanks for being on the show today. I love learning so much about meditation because this was very insightful for me, and I'm glad to hear that it worked its way through your life and just in such a positive way. And thank you for sharing your journey and such personal things, and also to your book. Congratulations on your first book, Meditation for the Modern Mind, and good luck on your next book coming out this fall. And I encourage people to buy that. They're both going to be available. Well, one's available now on Amazon,
yes,
and the other one will also, I assume, will be available on Amazon as well. And again, that's The Art of Positive Affirmation and Mantras coming out this fall.
Yes.
So terrific. Thanks again.
Thank you, Dan.
You bet. And thank you for joining us today. And again, if you have anybody suffering with depression or if you yourself are going through a crisis, try meditation. But if that doesn't work or you don't feel satisfied by that right now, remember there's always help. 988 is the number to dial. If you're in a crisis or you're having some emotional struggles right now, it happens to the best of us. So get the help. Life is worth living. Thank you for joining us today. We hope to see you again next week, and make it a great week. Take care. Bye-bye.